Yeah, when I first started there, they didn't have a laboratory. And then it was a few months after I was there, they had remodeled an old building over not very far from the office building. We were, of course, trying to come up with some new products that would make us a little more money. The biggest project was started back in 1965 called the high fructose corn syrup. This syrup revolutionized the whole sweetener industry in the country. Actually, there's very few people that really realize that. Our research director and then the microbiology supervisor went to Japan in 1965. What we got from the Japanese was a sample of the bug that made the enzyme, the isomerase enzyme. Far from a potential or a commercial product at that time. It wouldn't have gone anywhere with what we got. But we did get the bug. And by 1968, we sold our first carb fructose syrup. It contained only 13% fructose, I recall. Somewhere about the middle of the 70s, well, of course, they were trying to get into the whole entire food market. And I think one of the early people that began to use it were the ketchup people. Heinz ketchup.
And we sold high fructose corn syrup to the bakery in Waterloo, Iowa that supplied the whole region with Wonder Bread at the time. That was, I grew up with Wonder Bread. I mean, we were one of the few manufacturers of high fructose corn syrup. We had the Japanese patent to produce that, and we, at one point, the president of Coca-Cola landed at the Clinton airport and came into Clinton to discuss if they could have 100% of high fructose corn syrup that was being produced for Coke.
I actually had the highest paid operator job. It was a call it Refinery 5. It was a computer job. Now you think 1975, it was computers. Everything was set up with computers.
But it filled up the whole room.
It was a room even bigger than what this room was here.
And
it had the panel boards and everything. And he was talking about Bob Bigwood. Bob Bigwood was one of the operators that ran Refinery 5 too.
And then some of them, the syrups and some of the heavier homemade syrups and stuff went across carbon filter. You go down and then you get to go down to the sugar columns which was basically all the raw sugar came in and it went across deionizing columns, just like water softener columns, but they were huge. That was one of the next steps in progression.
Well, what they do is if you wanted to run a job, they would put you through a training period for a certain length of time until you knew that job real well. And then you would, that's how you would work.
Well, then Refinery 5 came along, and that was the most advanced system they had at that time. I bid it and got the job. So I was actually in Refinery 5 when I got my apprenticeship.
It's funny, all these years, there's times that I'll dream about that job down there. Something, and I've been away from there for, was it 30, 35?
At least 40.
Yeah, 40 years. But
we worked 12 hours a day, 7 days a week for the duration of the strike, and that's part of the production process for high fructose corn syrup. And so I'm up on top of the rail car pushing down the soda ash, and then it's going into this building, and you had to watch this gauge and go up there and make sure everything was being done correctly.
And the day I walked in, it was the peak of the flood for that year. And I remember walking on boardwalks all around the plant in the office building.
And I had a brother who was killed there. From, we had the worst flood in our history in April of 1965. And there was a heroic effort made in Clinton to build a dike along the river to basically save the town. And Clinton Corn financed the construction of a dike around their property to protect it from the flood. My two brothers both worked down there to help build that. And there was a conveyor belt that got submerged in the water there. And as I say, that was in April of 1965. My middle brother had a summer job there. Both of my brothers had summer jobs there that summer of 65. And the middle one was apparently either loading or unloading a freight car and using this conveyor to do it. And apparently when the conveyor got submerged in the water, it broke down the insulation, and he touched the frame of the conveyor and got 440 volts. That was on July 16th, 1965. And he was immediately killed. I was in Germany at the time.
He got killed there.
How so? What happened?
Well, they used to have these thing called steep tanks. The corn would ferment down in there, and then afterwards a person would go down there and shovel that stuff out. Well, it ferments and it forms nitrous oxide, it's silo gas, and it overcome them. His boss went down there and he was overcome, so they both died down there. So that, and guess what? After that, nobody went down there anymore. They flushed them out with water.
But one thing I could say, I think it was probably a close-knit town in a way. It's a blue-collar town.
Mm-hmm.
But one day I said to him, "Don't you miss working there?" And he said, "No, I miss the guys."
But
And the guys didn't come around, and I think
they felt,
it's like they felt guilty. Those that didn't lose their job, they were still working, and they couldn't bring themselves to stop by and visit
Just
him.
talk
And so
to
he
me,
missed the men.
Yeah, that's it.
Because Clinton Corn has always been a local entity. All the people, all of the vice presidents, the presidents, all of the managers, it all come up. They all lived in Clinton, grew up in Clinton, and went to school in Clinton, got their college wherever, but came back to the Clinton area and worked their way up.
They were all nice fellows. Yeah, most of them, yeah.
But just about everybody, 99.5% of the people that worked at Clinton Corn were good workers, and gave. If they had you, they'd stay overtime and do whatever, Myself, I tried my best to do as good a job as I could.